afternoon, everybody. I'm Tommy O'Brien, coming to you live from TFNN, 3:07 p.m. Eastern Time. We got 53 minutes left to go in trading, and you got markets making intraday highs as I come on the air. How about markets green across the board? Reversal of the Fed news this morning, as in reports, and they were just reports. But boy, the market reacting that President Trump was going to fire Powell in the near term. He denies that. The president does. And the market accelerates higher. We're above that price point. And we have the S&Ps right now up by 0.3%, up by 18 points at 6302. NASDAQ barely in the green by less than 0.1% right now, 23,069. Dow up by 0.4%, 44,440. And we got the Russell up by 18, up 0.8%. Let's take a look at the yields. The 10-year right now, 4.46. Okay, we have had lower price and higher yield. You back things up. You go to where we were July 1st. Okay, you had the 10-year trading at 112.12. The 10-year yield at that point was 4.19%. Okay, pull it up on your charts. Since then, you're down almost 2 full points to 110.18, and you were down almost 2 full points at the lows. And that has pushed yields from 4.19% on July 1st to 4.46%, and we were nearing 5% at the lows of yesterday. So what's happened? We've had the 10-year go up almost 25 basis points, a full quarter point cut. Now that's the 10-year. You go over to the 2-year, and we go back to a shorter term, and yeah, the pressure is on. As in, there is a reaction here when you talk about the 2-year, and I'm going to pull up the curve in a moment, but we have higher price, you got lower yield, and you have the 2-year right now at 3.89%, down 7 basis points. So it has reacted to the PPI, which was this morning at 8:30. And there's the volatility, the spike higher, and the give back. But we are at higher price, lower yield on the 2-year. And the 2-year trades very heavily dependent in terms of the Fed, where they're going, for an obvious reason, right? Your short term, your 2 years out, that 2-year yield is going to be heavily dependent on where the Fed is setting the overnight lending rate. You jump over to the dollar right now. Now, I told you that on July 1st, the 10-year was trading at 4.19%, and that's when you had low yields, you have dollar weakness. The dollar at that point was at 96.37. We've since bounced to 98.39. So as yields have risen from 4.19, you're now pushing 4.46. We have the dollar up almost exactly 2 full points. Okay. And so what's interesting on the dollar here is if we are going to get lower yields, there's going to be some wind in the dollar's face, because as you can see, as we've plummeted in yields to 96.377 is where the dollar has gone on a bounce on yields, but the yields are 10-year right now. And no matter what, Chairman Powell's term is done in May of next year. And so names getting thrown around already. It seems like the dollar is going to be facing constant headwinds here, as rates are going to face constant, at least in the near term, pressure to the downside as the pressure's on. And it's not just the pressure that's on, whether he gets rid of Chairman Powell or not. And we'll jump over to the headline. Trump denies he's planning to attempt to fire Powell. Seems like he raised the prospect, and maybe he was speaking grandiosely, if you would believe so, and that's very possible, right? But he spoke to Congress, spoke to some members there. I talked to them about the concept of firing him. I said, what do you think? Almost all of them said I should, but I'm more conservative than they are. So they had a conversation about it. He's out there saying he's not. He's out there saying raises the prospect that he could be removed for fraud. Well, if that's the case, that's the case, right? But nonetheless, the pressure's on, and there's going to be a new chairman or chairwoman come next May, and we'll see how we go from there. But yes. All right, you jump over to NVIDIA shares right now. Quite the acceleration yesterday. Put it back to a 15-minute. And right now, NVIDIA basically flat. All right, let's check out some of the banks. So Goldman Sachs up by 0.6% right now on their earnings this morning. Jump over to Morgan Stanley. Trades lower earlier, and we're spiking higher. We're up more than $4 off those lows, still off by about 1.7%. We take a look at the dailies on these equities. It's been quite a run. Okay, you're talking about Morgan Stanley just trades from $95 at the April lows to $145. Let's put it on a weekly, back it up. And Goldman Sachs, I mean, these banks just been stratospheric. Goldman Sachs was trading at 290 the end of 23, but just the run from April alone, from 450 to 725, up by 0.6% right now. And the other one, Bank of America, off by about 0.2%. All right, jumping around to other news we have. Yeah, that was the one I was looking for. And it looks like Hassett's in the lead. It's so amazing. I was talking to Teddy Kegstad this morning on the morning program, and I was saying, man, the pressure really is on. We're getting headlines every single day, it seems like. And this article was already out before the news broke that Trump was considering possibly firing Powell. And that looks to be the man potentially in the lead right now. Kevin Hassett and Kevin Warsh. No matter who it is, they're going to share the president's ear on cutting the overnight lending rate, and that's going to be pressure. And you're seeing it on the 2-year today. Remarkable when you look at the 2-year performance, okay? Look at the move, look how it's sustained, and then you look at even the 10-year, not quite the same move, because on the shorter term basis, yeah, there is pressure on. And we'll see if that holds. Take a look at the daily on the markets right now. Take a look at the volume. Yeah, we're going to do some good volume today. In the NASDAQ, we've already done 488,000 contracts. You can see the trend was to lower volume, but this is going to be a spike. We got 45 minutes left to go. It's been a big trading day, and you always get some decent volume on the close. And what are we? 160 points away from all-time highs, but no matter what, we're going to have a good volume day today. Let's see how we are on the S&P. Similar action in the S&P. On a daily basis, you're already above almost anything we've done since June 23rd. All right, we check on gold. So gold with some volatility, on dollar volatility today. And so as I mentioned, when you're the dollar trading, okay, at 96 and change on around July 1st, gold's held up extremely well, right? Yields have risen from 4.19 to 4.46. You've had the dollar strengthen from 96.38 to 98.38. And in that dollar strengthening, gold's held up and even higher at 33.55. All right, folks, stay tuned. We're coming back with Elliot Wellenbach. He is Senior Vice President with Direction, ETF Institutional Strategist. We'll talk some markets. We're going to talk some NVIDIA, some AMD, and some ETFs. Don't go away, folks.